everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video I'm going to be going through all of the book series that I completed in 2025. A series wrap up if you will. So before I get into the video, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, romance and thriller books and I post videos every Sunday and every other Wednesday. So from my counting, I completed 31 series in 2025, which I think is personally really good. 2025 I started a lot of series, even in 2024 as well. I started a lot of series and then never carried on or only had like the last book left to read and I just put off reading them for whatever reason. So my goal for the last half of 2025 was to wrap up as many series as possible. So I'm personally really pleased with this number, especially given how a lot of these actually happened in quite a short period of time. So the first series I completed at the beginning of the year was the Graves Glen series by Erin Sterling. This is a like witchy romance trilogy and to be honest with you, I wouldn't actually really recommend this series. The first one, the X-Hex, is really popular, but I personally thought it was only like a 3-star rating. Same with the second book, and then the third book I actually gave a 2-star rating and really didn't enjoy it. So if it sounds like your thing, if you're into like a witchy romance, this might be your thing. I just didn't really like the writing style and yeah, it was just a bit sort of okay really, and the last book really didn't do it for me. We then have the Bonesmith duology by Nikki Powell-Pretto. Now this one I would recommend. This is a sort of like new adult fantasy series following these people called Bonesmiths. We also have Ghostsmiths, and essentially they like harvest magic from bones. And yeah, it's just really cool. It's kind of like necromancy and I really enjoyed this one and would highly recommend. We then have the Defy the Night trilogy by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a young adult fantasy series and I gave I think the first book a 4-star rating and the second and the third book a 3-star rating. To be honest with you, if I probably read the first book again now, I think this would probably just be like a 3-star series. I think for me, I'm just growing out of young adult fantasy. There's not really much of it that I'm enjoying now, but I do enjoy Bridget Kemmerer as an author, so I think I might still pick her stuff up. This one was really interesting. You had this like kingdom that was ravaged by a pandemic, kind of like COVID inspired really, but she said that it wasn't COVID inspired, and you follow like the prince and this girl who lives in like the slums. She's trying to steal medicine from the rich to give to the poor, and it was okay, it was pretty decent. Like I said, 3-star rating all round, and if it sounds like your thing, you know, definitely check it out, but it's not on the top of my recommendations list. We then have the DNA Duo series by Christina Lauren, or it's more of a duology, and this is a romance duology. I would recommend this one. This one follows, in the first book, our main character. She's a single mother and there's this app that matches you with a partner based on your DNA that you submit, and it thinks it can find your life partner based on your DNA. She actually ends up matching with one of the founders of this app, and he's obviously like a millionaire, and it's their love story. We kind of go from there. So this one, I really enjoyed this duology and I would recommend it. Christina Lauren is a fantastic author and I'm really excited to get through the rest of her backlist. We then have the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy. This is a ice hockey romance series and I really love Elle Kennedy as an author, and I really loved this series. The first 2 books in this were my absolute favourites. They were like 5-star reads for me really, so yeah, I would recommend this one. I think this is quite an old series now though, so I think most people have probably read it, but I just really love this one. We then have the Founders trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a older like adult fantasy series and I really enjoyed this one. Again, I think I would have probably enjoyed it more if I read the books closer together. I think it took me like just over a year to complete this trilogy, so that's another goal of mine for 2026, is to read my series closer together because I think I'm going to enjoy them a lot more that way. This is kind of like Victorian inspired fantasy and it's kind of like Industrial Revolution era, and it was just really interesting. I think I don't want to say too much about it because I think that the less you know the better with this series, but yeah, I really enjoyed this one and I would recommend it, and I'm excited to check out Robert Jackson Bennett's newest series as well. We then have Empire of the Wolf by Richard Swan. Again, this is another trilogy. This one has now a sequel series that's just started, so I'm interested to check that out. So this one, we follow an apprentice to someone who's quite high up in this empire, quite important in this empire, and they have this thing called the Emperor's Voice where they can like command people to like tell the truth, and kind of like secret police of this empire. And we follow their apprentice, and the way that this story was told is really interesting because obviously you follow the apprentice's point of view, and I really enjoyed this one. I know that this got a lot of hype when it first came out and I think that it deserves a bit more hype. I think Richard Swan's a really good author. I personally really enjoyed this, and like I said, I'm interested to carry on with the sequel series and check out more by this author if he's got anything else published. We then have A Vine Mess by Tessa Bailey. This is a romance duology based around like Vineyard. This was really fun. You know, Tessa Bailey's always a quick, easy author for romance, and it's only a duology as well, so it didn't really take too long to complete this one, but I definitely enjoyed the second book, I think, more than the first book. We then have Secrets of the Nile by Isabel Ibanez. Now this one is difficult because the first book in this was a 5-star read for me, and the second book was like a 3-star read for me. So in this one we follow a young girl who lives in, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Argentina with her parents, and her parents spend like half the year in Egypt and they never take her with her. They are archaeologists and they go on a dig and then they are like presumed dead, and she travels to Egypt, you know, unchaperoned, to find out what happened to her parents and what was going on with the dig they were involved in. And like I said, the first book was a 5-star read for me. I really enjoyed it, and the second one was still good, but it was more of like a 3-star read for me. So I would recommend this duology. It's definitely something that I haven't read too much of. I think the like archaeological books are certainly making a resurgence. We've seen a few like romance series based around like archaeological dig. This one I found really interesting, and it's definitely like one of its kind sort of book. We then have the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. This is a romance trilogy, and 5 out of 5 stars all round for this one. I'm sure everyone's read this by now. They're 3 like interconnected standalones, and you definitely need to read them in order because they do relate to each other. In the very first book we follow a woman who's basically separated from her husband, and she lives this kind of like high-flying life, and she actually stops over in a very small town one day. I think she breaks down and she meets a guy who kind of lives a more of a simple life, and she kind of decides that actually she's not happy in her life and she wants a bit of a more simple life for herself, but obviously her family will not like let her go, sort of thing. So this one was really good. This whole series was really good. Like I said, 5 out of 5 would recommend. We then have the Song of the Last Kingdom series by Emily Wen Zhao. This was a really interesting duology. If you're interested in like fantasy books based on Chinese mythology, I definitely check this one out. Again, I think I gave the first book a 4-star, and I think I maybe gave the second book a 3-star. I can't quite remember, but I did quite enjoy this duology. And again, it's only a duology, so not committing to too much, and personally I really enjoyed it, and I'm interested to check out more from this author as well. I know they've got a new book recently come out. We then have the Beautiful Quartet by Renee Adier. I would not recommend this series. So the whole premise of this series is like vampires in New Orleans, and this was just really not good. So the first book I really enjoyed. It was like a 4.5-star read, and then the second book was a 3-star. It kind of was a bit slow and we didn't really know, like not a lot really happened, but I thought I'll carry on because I'm sure it's going to pick back up. No, the third and the second book were like 2-star reads for me, so wouldn't recommend this series. I'd recommend The Beautiful, the first book, and then just don't continue. That was really good. It's a YA like fantasy series, like I said, vampires in New Orleans, really cool. Just don't continue on. We then have the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. This is her first cowboy romance series. This one was kind of like, I'd say like a 3.54-star rating overall. So a couple of the books I really enjoyed. One of them I just kind of didn't really love all that much. I can see how Elsie Silver has really developed with her writing. Thinking this one obviously came before the Chestnut Springs series, so you know, we've all got to start somewhere. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't like Chestnut Springs level of enjoyment. So would recommend this series if you're interested in like a cowboy romance series, and they're all on Kindle Unlimited as well, so they're not really too hard to source. We then have the Reckoners trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. This is like a superhero-esque inspired trilogy, not part of the Cosmere, but I did really enjoy this one actually. I'd say this is like a 4-star series overall. If you're interested in Brandon Sanderson but don't want to commit to the Cosmere, or you want more of a lighter read from him, I definitely recommend this trilogy. I personally really enjoyed it, and this one as well took me like about a year and a half to read the whole trilogy, but it's quite a simple concept, so actually you could space these out and you don't really feel like you need to read them back to back to recall a lot of information. Like as long as you can remember the characters, I think you're good to go. We then have the Green Oaks duology by Elena Armas. So this one I really enjoyed the first book and I hated the second book, so for me I would only recommend reading the first book. I don't know, the second one just wasn't really for me. I do enjoy Elena Armas as an author. I have also read her Spanish Love Deception series as well, but I read that the previous year, so I would recommend the first book in this duology, wouldn't recommend the second, but I am interested to see in what she comes out with next. We then have another series by Abby Jimenez. We have the Friend Zone trilogy, and again I really enjoyed this one. The first book I gave a 5-star rating, and then the second and third book I gave a 4-star rating. Again, you can kind of see where this is Abby Jimenez's like first series. It's still really good, just not for me on par with Part of Your World, apart from the very first book, The Friend Zone. I loved that book, it made me cry so much. But yeah, I think the emotional impact of like the second book didn't hit as hard as I was expecting it to, and then the third book kind of felt a little bit out of place in this trilogy, but I still really enjoyed them, again as like sort of separate books to one another. We then have the Barry's Bay duo by Carly Fortune. Now this is quite funny because I didn't actually realise surprised that this was a duology. When the second book, One Golden Summer, came out, I bought it on Kindle because I thought it was looked really good. It wasn't listed on Goodreads at the time as like the second book in a series, so I actually read that one first, and then I had to go back and read the first one because there was characters that were referenced, and I was like, I swear I've read this in a synopsis for a Carly Fortune book, and I had. So I actually read this in the wrong order, but I actually really loved this series regardless. For me, One Golden Summer was a 5-star read, and then Every Summer After was a 4-star read. Maybe if I had read them the other way around, the emotional impact, obviously I knew what happened to the very first couple, the drama of that relationship didn't hit as hard for me because I knew it was coming, but I still really enjoyed this duology, and I would highly recommend it, and I'm really interested to check out more from Carly Fortune this year. We then have the Out series by Hannah Bonham Young. So this comprises Out on a Limb and Out of the Woods. So again, this is another series where like the first book was a 5-star for me. Really loved that, like laughed, cried, giggled, kicked my feet kind of thing. Loved that book. And then Out of the Woods I gave like a 3-star. I just didn't really see how it was really necessary. I feel like Out on a Limb stood really well on its own, but I would recommend this series regardless, and I'm interested to check out more from this author. I know she's got another duology that I do actually own, and a recent book that's just come out as well. We then have the Battalion of the Dead trilogy by Kat Dunn. This is a YA fantasy series based around the French Revolution, so you have like the guillotine and things like that, and it's just really cool. So I gave the first book and the last book a 4-star rating, and I think I gave the second book a 3-star rating, and this was just like a fun YA fantasy, and I actually really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I definitely think it's again quite unique in its premise as well, so if you are a bit fed up of like sort of the generic fantasy synopsis, definitely check this one out. It's definitely really cool. We then have the Twisted series by Anna Huang. This is a sort of like adult romance series with like billionaire romances, and yeah, it was pretty cool actually. I really enjoyed the second and the fourth book, were my favourites, and then the first and the third books I gave like a 3-star rating. So I did really still enjoy them, but I think you definitely have couples that you prefer, or like story types, tropes that you prefer. So for me it was the second and the fourth one. I'm interested to check out more from Anna Huang though. Again, these were all on Kindle Unlimited, and a friend very kindly lent these to me as well, so they were pretty easy for me to source, and they were a fun time. Quite smutty though, so if that's not your vibe, I wouldn't recommend this series, but for me, I really enjoyed it, and I'm interested to check out more from this author. We then have the One of Us is Lying trilogy by Karen M. McManus. This essentially follows a group of students. It's a YA thriller series, and this group of students are in detention, and someone in detention dies, and they're obviously all suspects, but who did it, you know? Now this was the first one I gave like a 4-star rating, and then I think the second and the third book were just really unnecessary. They just kind of felt like rehashes of the first book, and I think the first book would have stood a lot stronger on its own. And yeah, I don't know, maybe the first book was just so popular that she decided to write some sequels, but I just don't really think it was necessary. I would still recommend it. Maybe just read the first one. You don't really need to read the second and the third. They're just kind of rehashing the same plot really. We then have the Love Light series by B.K. Borison. Now this one, I enjoyed the second and the third book. They were like 4-star reads for me, and then the first and the fourth book were just like 3-star for me really. So I'm not sure if I'm going to really read more from B.K. Borison. I feel like I've got quite a few romance authors that I really enjoy, and I know I like their writing, and I think with B.K. Borison it's a bit like hit or miss if I'm going to really enjoy their books, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on. But this is essentially like small town romances, and you follow like a group of friends. Apart from the final book, it just feels like a weird add-on. It just follows 2 random characters that the first 3, they all run this Christmas tree farm together, and then the fourth one is like the step brother of the woman in the first book, and it's just a bit odd. I don't know, I just didn't really like it. But yeah, I'm just a bit conflicted on whether I would recommend this or not. Everyone seems to love it, so I think like I'm in the minority here, and I know everyone loves B.K. Borison's latest series, so maybe I'll check it out. I don't know, but it's definitely not like high on my priority list. We then have the Foul Lady Fortune duology by Chloe Gong. This is part of the like Secrets of Shanghai series that Chloe Gong has. This is the sequel duology to These Violent Delights, and again, I think I gave like the first book a 4-star, the second book a 3-star. It was fun. I don't really think it really adds much to the like These Violent Delights series, so if you enjoyed These Violent Delights, maybe check it out, but I wouldn't necessarily rush to read this series again, and I wouldn't really rush to recommend it. It was fun, but I just think like it was quite long for no reason really. The books were just quite long. So we then have the Broke and Beautiful trilogy by Tessa Bailey. This follows like 3 girls who are broke and beautiful basically, and they hook up with like rich guys. All of these books were just like 3 stars for me. This is like one of Tessa Bailey's very early series, and you can tell the books are quite quite short, so you don't really feel all that connected to the characters. Like I said, I gave them like 3 stars. Maybe a more accurate rating would be like 2.5. Like they were fun, they just, I wouldn't recommend them. Like they're not, if I'm recommending like romance series, I wouldn't really recommend this one. But Tessa Bailey, you know exactly what you're going to get with her. So we then have the Briar You series by Elle Kennedy. This is a 4-book long series, again all on Kindle Unlimited. Ice hockey romances, sequel series to the Off-Campus series. You follow some characters that we have met in the very first series, and it's I think like a year or so after the Off-Campus series. And yeah, this was fun. Definitely preferred the Off-Campus series to this one, but it doesn't mean that this series wasn't good. Like I said, I really enjoy Elle Kennedy as an author, and I definitely check out more of her books. I know there's another sequel series to the Off-Campus series, but really eager to start. We then have the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. This is her latest series with the final 2 books that came out in 2025. I read this whole thing in 2025. Definitely think Chestnut Springs is still my favourite Elsie Silver series, but the second book in this series I gave 5 stars, really loved it, and I think I gave like the rest of them all like 4-star ratings, so these were still really good. Again, different tropes that you'll enjoy, and yeah, these weren't cowboy, these were more like millionaire romances, so a little bit different from Elsie Silver, but you still have the like the ranch feeling as well. We then have the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. This is an adult witchy series by Juno Dawson, and it's essentially like a coven that was founded by Anne Boleyn way back in the day and what they're all up to now kind of thing, and it's based in like the north of England as well, and this was really fun. I think again, if I'd read these books closer together, I would have enjoyed them a lot more. I think I gave them all like a 4-star rating, I can't really remember, but again, like I said, I think if I read them closer together, I would have really enjoyed them a lot more. There's a lot of great representation in here as well. We then have the Age of Madness trilogy by Jo Abercrombie. This is the final trilogy so far in the First Law universe, so can't really say too much about the synopsis of this one, but the First Law series as a whole is like a grimdark fantasy series. It's very stereotypical of the genre, but Jo Abercrombie adds a lot of humour to it, and his writing style is really good. And for me, I personally really love all of the books in the First Law universe. There's definitely some that I love more than others, but this trilogy was really strong, and I'm interested to see where we're going to go from here, if we're going to get any more in the First Law. There's 2 trilogies and then 3 standalones. So you have the first trilogy, 3 standalones, and then the second trilogy. You probably think, oh well, the second trilogy is just going to be a rehash of the first one. No, it's not. You think it is, but it's really not. It ends very differently, and quite surprising actually how he chose to end this, and I'm really intrigued by his newest release, which is not in this universe, but I'm interested to see if we're going to get more as well, so would recommend this. You need to start with the blade itself. We then have the Aurelian Cycle by Rosaria Munda. This is definitely like my top underrated series of 2025. This is like a dragon fantasy series for, it's young adult, but I loved this. So you had this rebellion quite a few years ago where they slaughtered all of the like the royal family and took their dragons, and actually there is a few members of that family that survived who want to take back their throne. But is it a good thing that they take it back? Is the new people in charge actually good for the country? This was just so good. If you liked Fourth Wing, this is like Fourth Wing before Fourth Wing essentially. This is such an underrated series, highly recommend it. Even if you prefer adult fantasy, I love adult fantasy. I don't really enjoy a lot of YA fantasy nowadays, but this was so good. We then have the Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne, again like another dragon fantasy trilogy. This is an adult series. This is John Gwynne's latest series. It's inspired by like Norse mythology, and I really enjoyed this one. I definitely preferred the Faithful and the Fallen series, but I still really enjoyed this one. John Gwynne is one of my favourite fantasy authors, so I'm definitely interested to check out more from him. I know that he has just recently finished writing another book. We don't know if that's going to be in a series that he's already published or what. This one was really good. It's really quite complicated to explain because you have so much going on, but I think actually if you like dragons, if you like mythology, if you like John Gwynne, if you like adult fantasy, you will just love this series, is all I'm going to say. And then the final series that I finished in 2025 was the Forest Grimm duology by Catherine Purdy. This is a YA fantasy duology, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one. So this is definitely for like the younger end of YA. This first book came in a Fairy Loot box, which is how I got hold of it back when I had my Fairy Loot subscription. It's kind of like the reason I unsubscribed from it really. So I enjoyed the first book. It was a 4-star read for me. Maybe on reflection it's more of a 3-star, and the second book was just like a kind of rehash of the first book really, and didn't really add too much apart from wrapping it up. I think we could have just had a longer first book and wrapped everything up there. It's like a fairy tale retelling kind of duology, and yeah, it was fun, but I think I'm just past that now, so wouldn't necessarily recommend that one. So those are the 31 book series that I finished in 2025. I think I had a pretty good year for series, so I'm hoping to continue this energy for 2026. Comment down below if you've read any of these series. I'd love to hear what you guys think of them. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.